Hey y'all, it's Sarah, the wine-loving bookworm, back with another book and wine review on your Wednesday night. Sorry I didn't get to do a book review last weekend. My sister was here, so I was busy with hanging out with her. And by the way, shout out to Bridget Higgins, I think her name is. I didn't check. My sister told me you watch my reviews, so thank you so much. Okay, so let's start with the wine tonight. I did, oh God, I don't even know what it's called, but it has a cool label, right? Arc Rival Wine Company, Red Blend. So it is a Publix BOGO, so we're going to give it a shot. Ooh, that is a lot. That is a very full-bodied wine, if I say so myself. I don't even know, hold on, Modesto, California. Oh, like Lacey and Scott Peterson. Oh my God. Let me give it another shot. That's like pretty strong on the cab side, I would say. So if you're not a big cab fan, I wouldn't go with that. It's a lot. Okay, let's move on to the book that I read. I read Washington Black, and I'm going to slaughter this name if I haven't already before. Edugyan. This was my book club book, not one I would have picked up otherwise, and I went to book club last Thursday. Mixed reviews on this book. I actually liked it. I thought it was readable. I hated the ending though. And you know, when a book is good and the ending is just terrible, obviously it ruins it. So that wasn't any fun. But I thought the book itself was well written and just very readable, very easy to read. I wouldn't say a page turner, but you know, very easy to read. So the basic premise of the book is it's about a slave who lives in Barbados, and he is on a plantation, and he's under this very, very cruel slave master, I guess you call it, plantation owner. His name is Erasmus, which is kind of cool. I really like that name, even though he was a horrible person. And so his brother comes to visit, and his brother's kind of this eccentric, scientific kind of guy, has these kind of like a crazy scientist kind of guy that has these ideas for different inventions, and he kind of takes to Washington Black. That's the guy's name, and that was the name given to him by Erasmus. So, you know, go figure, weird name. And they call him Wash. So the brother, so Washington Black is at dinner one night, like kind of helping them serve, which was unusual for him because he's a field slave, I guess. But they asked him to come in for dinner. I don't know that that was well explained. But anyway, not for dinner, to serve dinner. And Titch was the brother's kind of nickname. He kind of took to him for some reason. And he's like, can I borrow him, basically? And later you find out it's because he's building this contraption, sort of like a plane. I mean, you can see it right there in the cover. It's like a hot air balloon thing, but it has like a boat underneath it. And I guess Washington Black was the right size and weight to get onto the boat to be able to, I don't know, you know, whatever, weights and balances, whatever they call it, to get it up off the air. And apparently there's this mountain in Barbados where he wanted to set his little contraption off. I forget, he called it the Cloud Chaser? That may be completely wrong. Cloud Clipper? Something like that. I can't look it up right now. I'm really tired tonight, so I'm doing this kind of off the cuff. So he actually asks his brother, Titch asks his brother Erasmus, that if he can keep Washington Black. He wants him for himself. And Erasmus says absolutely not. So there's a whole, you know, thing, a whole bunch of events that happen that lead Titch to try to get this Cloud Chaser, Cloud Clipper, whatever it is, off the mountain early and take Washington Black away from the plantation, basically. So they launch this contraption. It crashes. I guess they hit a storm, and it crashes in the water, and they're rescued by a boat. And there begins the next phase of Washington Black's life. Some of the comments from book club, they were something I didn't really pick up on, and maybe that's just a little bit of my bias, my white privilege, I don't know, is that Titch helped him escape, but there wasn't a commonality between them. He didn't see him as an equal. He still almost saw him as like a pet or something that he could leave behind. There were several times where Titch tried to leave him behind. And remember, I don't think I said this, but know that Washington Black was only like 10 when he took him away. So he's a child. And I didn't really 100% get that until they started talking about it. But I also think that's a very nuanced kind of thing, because we are talking about that from a 2020 perspective, where this was back in the 1800s, where he was like a savior, and they kind of referred to him as an abolitionist, but Titch came from a wealthy family back in England, and he had the luxury of being an abolitionist, kind of, I don't know what to kind of analogize it to today, but just sort of like, people that have like a lot of money, who are rich, and then try to help people, but don't really understand their situation. But like someone said in book club, but can a white man in the 1800s really ever understand a black slave? Like, no. So I think, in my opinion, he was kind of doing the best he could. But I do see the argument on both sides. I didn't think that Titch was like a bad guy or an evil guy. Some of the people at my book club had that opinion. I just think he was sort of eccentric. And I think he went about things in an eccentric fashion. And I don't really think he thought one way or the other about Washington Black. I just think and I don't think he would have thought one way or the other about him if he was white or black or whatever. I just think he was one of those people that kind of just was like, you suit my needs. So I don't know that it was a black or white thing, but maybe I'm wrong about that. So anyway, this book was good. I liked it. But the ending was terrible. Terrible. I almost thought, did I miss a page? Like, are there pages missing from my book? Because it just kind of very abruptly ended. So that kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth for any book. So I would give it about 3.5 out of 5 stars, I would say. If you're really into like this, what historical and slavery. It's not really about slavery. I mean, he escapes pretty early on, and it's kind of about his life trying to live as an ex-slave. So there's a lot of different racial components to it, racial tensions, racial, relationships. So I think it's a little bit more nuanced than you would think at first read after you think about it a little bit. But anyway, I thought it was a good book. Not something I would have picked up, but I liked it a lot. Okay, I want to talk real quick about, I joined this Harvard book club, and they send you a book every month, and it's signed by the author, so, maybe it'll be worth something one day. This one I read while I was kind of contemplating whether I was going to keep doing this, so I just want to touch briefly on it, because this has been in a lot of best of 2019 lists. It's called Night Boat to Tangier by Kevin Barry. I hated this book. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I kind of get maybe why it's on that list, but I didn't like it at all. I mean, the book's very stark. I mean, if you can tell from kind of the writing there's not a lot of flowery language, there's not a lot of great descriptions, and maybe that's what I kind of gravitate towards. I'm not sure. Didn't love it, but I did read it. Which leads me into the book I am doing for next week, which I'm going to do on Saturday. It's called Alice Hoffman, The World That We Knew. And this is another one of my Harvard Book Club books. And this is already being lauded as a great book of 2019 too. And she signed it, which is really cool. So far, I like it, except for one little part of it that is really super weird. And I'm not going to talk about it right now. I'll talk about it next week when I talk about the book. But it's just like this weird thing that is kind of distracting from the story. So we'll see where it goes. I'm like literally not even halfway through. I'm probably not even a quarter of the way through it. So we'll see where it goes and see if it gets better. But right now, I don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about is that I listened to my first Audible book, Billy Jensen's Chase Darkness with me, and he is a investigative journalist that covers, you know, unsolved murders, unsolved missing persons cases, and tries to use Facebook and social media and crowdsourcing to try to determine who the murderer was, where these people are, or whatever. Interesting, but it went on a bit too long. He could have cut a lot of it out. So it's actually a good book to listen on like an Audible thing. I've never done that before. I have a long commute every day, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And I actually think I'll keep doing it. Kind of for my serial killer side of things, that I like to listen and, learn about stuff like that. I might use that for the Audible. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about that. But anyway, that's it. So Washington Black. If you're interested in kind of historical fiction with a little bit of maybe magical realism, a little bit in there, I would pick it up. Otherwise, maybe skip it. Rival, Wine Company, Red Blend. Let's take one more sip of that. It's a lot. It's a stronger wine. So, and I think that one was actually a little bit more expensive. I think that was more like $20-something. So, if you like the really robust kind of cab feel, go for it. If not, then don't. All right, guys. Well, I will be back on Saturday because we're going to be out of town on Sunday to give you a review of Alice Hoffman's The World That We Knew. So until then, have a great week. Cheers.